People don't wake up one morning and suddenly decide to quit. It doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It happens slowly, quietly, in small disappointments, in ignored efforts, in conversations that never happened. And one day, they stop fighting and they leave. Companies often say they weren't loyal, they wanted more money, they weren't a good fit. But the truth is deeper. People don't leave jobs, they leave environments that slowly make them feel invisible. Today, we're going to break down the real psychological reasons people leave companies and why most organizations never see it coming. Stay until the end, because if you work in a company or lead one, this might change how you see resignation forever. People don't leave for money first. Let's challenge the biggest myth. People leave for better pay. Yes, money matters, but money is rarely the first emotional trigger. Money becomes the final justification. The real reason begins earlier, when effort stops feeling meaningful, when contribution feels unnoticed, when growth feels blocked. Employees don't usually quit because they're underpaid. They quit because they feel undervalued. There's a difference. Underpaid feels financial. Undervalued feels personal. And personal dissatisfaction is more powerful than financial frustration. A person can tolerate average pay if they feel respected, but they will not tolerate disrespect even with good pay. Because salary feeds survival, respect feeds identity, and identity always wins. The slow death of motivation. Most resignations start months before the notice letter. It starts when ideas are ignored, extra effort becomes expected, initiative is punished instead of rewarded. Imagine this. An employee gives 110%. They stay late, they solve problems no one else touches, they step up. And what do they get? More work, not more recognition, not more influence, just more expectation. Over time, something shifts. They stop volunteering ideas, they stop pushing harder, they start doing exactly what's required. This isn't laziness, it's emotional withdrawal. And once motivation turns into obligation, resignation becomes inevitable. Because no one wants to feel like a tool, they want to feel like a contributor. People leave managers, not companies. You've heard this before, but most people don't understand why it's true. Employees don't leave logos, they leave leadership behavior. A toxic manager doesn't have to scream. Toxicity can look like constant micromanagement, never being satisfied, public criticism, private favoritism, emotional unpredictability. When leadership becomes psychologically unsafe, the workplace becomes exhausting. People can handle pressure, they cannot handle unpredictability. When you don't know if your effort will be appreciated, if your mistake will be weaponized, if your voice will be heard, you stop feeling secure. And security is the foundation of performance. Without it, every day feels like walking on thin ice. Eventually, leaving feels safer than staying. Lack of growth feels like a cage. Ambitious employees don't leave because they're bored. They leave because they feel stuck. There's a psychological pain that comes from stagnation. When months turn into years and your role doesn't evolve, you start questioning yourself. Is this it? Growth is not just promotion, it's skill expansion, responsibility progression, influence increase, learning opportunities. When companies freeze employees in one position too long, they create silent resentment, especially in high performers, because ambitious people would rather risk uncertainty than accept permanent limitation. And when growth conversations become, maybe next year, let's revisit this, just prove yourself a little more, they don't feel motivated, they feel delayed, and delayed ambition turns into departure.
Favoritism destroys loyalty. Nothing kills morale faster than unfairness. When promotions go to the loudest, the most visible, the most socially connected, the manager's favorite, instead of the most competent, something breaks. Employees don't expect perfection. They expect fairness. When fairness disappears, trust disappears. And once trust disappears, commitment follows. Favoritism sends a silent message. It's not about merit. And when merit doesn't matter, why should effort? People leave environments where politics outweigh performance because they realize hard work won't win here. Strategy might, but not integrity. And many good employees choose dignity over dysfunction. Emotional exhaustion nobody talks about. Burnout isn't just about long hours, it's about emotional drain. When employees constantly suppress frustration, pretend everything is fine, smile through disrespect, overextend without boundaries, it builds pressure internally. And emotional pressure, unlike workload, doesn't show on reports. Managers often measure productivity. They rarely measure morale. So when someone resigns, it feels sudden, but internally, the employee left months ago. They stayed physically, but mentally, they checked out. And once emotional detachment happens, there's no easy recovery, because energy, once drained, doesn't return easily. Silence is misinterpreted. Companies often mistake quiet employees as satisfied employees. But silence can mean they stopped fighting, they stopped caring, they stopped expecting improvement. The most dangerous employee isn't the one complaining, it's the one who stopped speaking. Because when someone stops expressing concern, they're already planning an exit. And when resignation finally comes, managers say, "I didn't see this coming." But the signs were there. They just weren't loud. People leave environments where identity is threatened. Work isn't just income, it's identity. When a workplace constantly undermines confidence, questions competence unfairly, minimizes contribution, publicly embarrasses, ignores achievements, it attacks identity. And humans protect identity fiercely. Once someone feels, "This place is shrinking me," they won't stay long, because no paycheck compensates for long-term self-doubt. The breaking point. Resignation often looks like a calm decision, but internally, it's accumulated disappointment. It's the fifth ignored idea, the third broken promise, the 10th unpaid overtime, the 100th unnoticed effort. It's rarely one event, it's accumulated evidence. At some point, the employee thinks, "If I stay, nothing changes." And that belief is fatal to retention, because hope is what keeps people loyal. Once hope dies, so does commitment. The hard truth for companies. Companies often try to retain employees after the resignation letter. They offer counteroffers, last-minute promotions, emotional appeals. But by then, it's too late. Retention starts long before resignation. It starts with listening consistently, recognizing effort, creating psychological safety, offering real growth, ensuring fairness. Not exit interviews, but everyday leadership. People don't leave companies overnight. They leave slowly, in silence, in exhaustion, in disappointment. And sometimes they leave without drama, just a polite resignation email. But behind that email is a story of effort, a story of unmet expectations, a story of quiet disconnection. If you're an employee watching this, maybe it's not weakness, maybe it's clarity. And if you're a leader watching this, maybe retention starts with listening before the silence begins. If this video made you reflect on your own workplace, subscribe. This channel exists to expose the psychology behind work that no one explains openly. Comment below, why did you leave your last job? Let's start an honest conversation.